So I think we are here. Please indicate if you can hear me audibly, please. Please let me know if you can hear me very well. I really appreciate that. Can we hear me, please? Okay, thank you. Yeah. So let's go back to our slide. So as I was saying earlier, principles of good UI design. I said we have when we talk about UI design best practices, these are guidelines that informs how our designs look like, or how we make sure that we design something that is aesthetically appealing to our users. And I mentioned consistency, clarity, and hierarchy and feedback as four of those principles that we're going to consider. Consistency, when we talk about consistency, we are talking about being consistent in everything that you are using, in everything you are using for your design, be it the color, be it the typography, be it the layout, even the font to the font size. Imagine you are creating a sign-up input feed for a mobile screen. Imagine you are creating a sign-up input field for a mobile screen. You now use 24, let's say for the sign up, when you type sign up, do you understand? You now use 24 pixel as the size of the font. Then the next input field, you now use 14 px. That is not consistent. Do you understand? That is a problem on its own. So this is the consistency we are talking about. Whatever you use for A is what you have to use for B, in as much where they are within the same design frame, unless there is a reason why a particular text must be bigger than the other. So the next thing here we're going to talk about is clarity. Make information easily understandable and accessible. There is no room for ambiguity. Please, if your video is on, kindly mute your video, please. There is no room for ambiguity. You make information to be easily understandable and accessible as much as possible. Do we get it? Hierarchy. You need to guide your users' attention to important elements. In design, there is hierarchy. What does hierarchy mean? Some things will be revealed better than the other. Let's say you are designing for a mobile view, for a mobile screen. Then you are asking the user to sign up for a particular thing. They say sign up with your mail. Okay, enter your password, enter your mail, enter your this, enter your that. You can't compare the size of the font of the text that will prompt the user to enter the information. You can't compare it with the one that will prompt the user to do what? To click or to sign up or to sign in or to log in. I don't know if we are getting this. This is what I'm saying. Let me explain myself better. When we are talking about hierarchy in design, it means some things are much more important than the other. A text can be bigger and it can be smaller. When a text is bigger than the other, it simply means you are laying emphasis on that particular text that is bigger. You want to guide the attention of the users to let them know that this particular text that is big is of utmost importance. Like, let's say, is a call to action button. Sign up. When you are telling users, imagine you create something, you create a screen. You want to tell users to sign up. And after entering the information, after entering their email and their password, then the next thing they have to do is to click on the sign up button. You now make the font size of the sign up of that text. You make it, let's say, 2px. That's 2 pixels. The users may not even be able to recognize what is inside the bottle, and is a call to action. Do you understand? That is not a good hierarchy. So you need to ensure that you need to ensure that what is important is given the utmost attention and is given the utmost emphasis. You need to emphasize more on what is important than the other. And that is what hierarchy is. Feedback. You provide clear visuals, cues, and confirmation about whatever you are doing. Remember, you are building a product for people. You are not building that product for yourself. So you need to be sure, you need to ensure that you need to give room, you need to ensure that you give room for users to do what? To be able to give you feedback on the feedback they have or whatever way they feel while using your product. So remember I told you that UI is more of how the product looks like and the feel of that product than the experience the user will have. Before they even have an experience with a product, users must have had an experience with the interface of that product first. They don't necessarily need to even download the app. Imagine you go on Google Play Store or you go on Apple Store. You search for a mobile app. Do you understand? You want to download it and you are seeing something, you're just seeing one very funny color. Let's say red and black as the color of the brand. You know, that can actually discourage, in fact, it can even discourage you it can discourage you from even downloading it. You just be like, what kind of app is this? Why? Because you are seeing a black and red color on a mobile app that you want to download on your phone. There's a way humans relate with colors. When humans see red and black, there's a way they feel about it. Now imagine you using that kind of color, you understand, as your own brand design. What message are you passing to your users? This is why it is very important to do what? To be consistent in what you're doing, to give room for more clarity, to give room for more hierarchy, and then to give room for feedback. So when people use it, they are able to tell you, oh, this is how we feel about your product. Imagine you going on Play Store, then you download an app, they ask you to drop a review for them, and you're not telling them, oh, your app is bullshit. Your design, your app is nonsense. Your app is this, your app is that. Fine. That is criticism. But then at the same time, the brand, that particular brand, they need it. It will help them to know that what they are building is not getting the adoption that it's supposed to get. Hence, they need to work more on it and build something that is useful for people. Our next slide here says fundamentals of UX design. If you look at the illustration we have on the left part of this slide, you see different people, both male and female, some on the tablets, some on the mobile phones. You can see how happy, how cheerful they look like. This tells you that they are enjoying the interaction they're having with that particular product they're interacting with on those gadgets. And this is what a good UX should look like. Imagine people using your product and they're frowning faces. How would you feel? Fine, you could feel bad. I mean, feel bad actually, but then it tells you that you still have works to do. You've not done what you need to do. Criticism is a very crucial thing in UI UX. If you are working for a company and after getting your product requirement document from your product managers and you go for a stand-up meeting and everyone is complaining about your design and all, it is okay for them to complain about your design. Don't fret, don't feel bad. The funny thing is that some people don't even know how to criticize. Do you understand? Some people just talk based on how they feel about the interaction they had with that product, not even minding how the product owner will feel, not even minding how the person that designed the product will feel. Users don't care about your feelings as a UI UX designer. They don't care. Users only care about themselves. No matter the number of hours, no matter the number of days, no matter the number of weeks, no matter the number of months you spend while designing a user-centric product. If that product doesn't meet user satisfaction and needs, users will rubbish it. And there is nothing you as the designer can do about it. Let's look at fundamentals of UX. I explained this earlier. Usability, the ease of use of your product, the efficiency and the satisfaction people get while interacting with your product. Accessibility, you design for diverse users with disabilities. When you're designing a particular product, the truth is, I said something earlier on when we started the class that all products cannot be for everybody. I understand. But then when you're building a product, you try as much as possible to ensure that you don't segregate. You don't give room for segregation. You design something that a lot of people can make use of. For instance, a mobile app. Do you understand? You design, fine. There are pros and there are cons. You understand? That guides designing for a specific demographic. Imagine you are designing for the blind or for the deaf. Do you understand? There are ways you do this. You don't say because a particular demographic is deaf or a particular demographic is, they are blind in that demographic. You now say, oh, we exclude them from this thing that we are building. No, you need to design for diverse users with disabilities included. The goal is that you gain adoption for whatever you are building, and that is what is important. The user interaction, smooth and intuitive experience with the user. That is the interaction people have while using the product. Like I said, the first thing they will see is the UI part, the user interface part of the product. Oh, this thing is looking beautiful. Oh, let me download this app. The app looks so great. It looks so fine. I love what I'm saying. Then they download the app. Now imagine a user that saw your app and says, oh, this app is looking beautiful and great. Download the app. Then have a very good and awesome experience while using the app. What kind of review do you think that kind of user is going to give? So that is what we're talking about. It is very important that we understand this. And we know that with us creating designs or products that are usable, that are easily accessible, and that have great interaction, we can actually do something great. Else, there won't be adoption for whatever we are building or we are designing. Let's check our next slide. So, wireframing and mockups. As beginners, I don't think, well, don't let me say that, but then you will definitely have things to do with this, but not at the starting point of your career as a UI UX person. Wireframing and mockup. Before you start talking about wireframing and mockup, as a beginner UI UX person, you need to have understood the principles of design, the best practices for building great UI designs. You need to have understood what it means to conduct great user research before you can start talking about UI wireframing and creating mockups. I remember I said something when we were talking about the design thinking process. I mentioned wireframing, that you create a low fidelity representation of your design. So I'm saying something here that wireframing simply means a low fidelity sketch that focuses on layout and structure. This is like the skeletal part of your design. It is not your actual design. It's like you drawing sketches of what you want your designs to look like. You can do this with a pen and paper. You can even do this with Figma. You can do this with certain design softwares. You can use your hand to even sketch it. Sketching on board, on cardboard or something, or drawing sheet, how you want the design to look like. That is what we call wireframing. Now, mockups. Mockups simply means high fidelity prototypes that represent the final design. When you create your design and you're done designing, mockup, you can create mockups by yourself. And at the same time, there are online resources that can actually generate mockups for you. You will import your designs into, you will export your designs into these mockups. The system, the platform, there's a way they do it. They fit your designs into the mockup and they make it look great, as if the design is already out there and is being used by real users. So that is what mockup is. A high fidelity prototype that represents your final design. It tells the user how your product will look like on their laptop, on their phone. Then the second to the last slide that we have here. As a UI UX person, you're going to be designing for different platforms. You're going to be designing for different platforms. You're going to be designing for different devices. You're going to be designing for mobile apps, websites, for tabs, whatever it is. Just bear it in mind that you're going to be designing for different platforms and devices. Look at these two images here. Mobile app. Under mobile apps, we have optimized for touch interactions and small screens. We all are users of phone. We all are users of laptops. So we understand what this is talking about. This is a design that was created with a design software. Looking at this mobile app that you're looking at here, this mobile app you're seeing here is a mock-up. Is a mock-up. When the design was done, then the design was exported into this mock-up, and that is why it is fitting into this. So this is how your final product looks like. Imagine you are the designer of this. Then look at the website. Ensure responsive design for multiple screen sizes. Some people will view your designs on let's say, on their laptop. Some will view it on their tablets. Some will view it on their mobile phones. You need to create designs that are responsive such that irrespective of the platform in which any user is watching or using the product or interacting with the product, the product still respond to the device that particular user or to the devices that those particular users are using at different points in time. This is why it is very important that you create designs that are responsive. That meet design. When they say design is responsive, it meets the needs of various gadgets, various platforms, various screens. This is what it means when we say designs are responsive. So this is your job. This is part of your job. You'll be designing for different devices and platforms. You design for mobile applications, you design websites, you design web applications. So lastly, we have, please, is Christy there? I think someone is playing around with our slide here, please. Who is this drawing on our slide? So we have resources and next steps. I haven't gone through what the introduction is. Now, this is what you need to do to ensure that you keep track record of what you've learned and what you're still going to be learning. Learning doesn't stop here. You keep learning. And by learning, you become better day in, day out. So you learn, you practice by creating your own project, you join design community groups, and after that, you create a design portfolio to showcase your work. So this is where we are going to round up our class for the day. And if there is any question I would like us to signify, if you have a question, I would like you to signify by dropping a message in the chat room. If you have a question, let's see. Please, do you have any question before we end the call, please? If you have a question, please, can you signify by dropping the message in the chat room? Hello? Christy, please. Okay. Someone is asking a question here that what working tools are we going to use? Yes, that is a very good and awesome question. Yeah, I was actually supposed to talk about it, but then um I wouldn't say it was intentional. But let me just talk about this. But before I talk about what working tools we are going to use, I would like to say something. Irrespective of the working tools, you need to understand design itself. You need to understand design in its entirety. You need to understand design in its full form. You may know how to use working tools, you may know how to use design softwares, but you can still be a very bad product designer. Do you understand? You may have a very, in fact, you may have a very great knowledge of how the design software works, but then you may not understand the design itself. So for the person asking what working tools are we going to use, there are different kinds of softwares for product design. And the most common ones are Figma, Adobe XD, Figma, Adobe XD, Sketch. These are different kinds of design softwares for product design specifically. But then the most common one that I work with, even I personally, the one I work with is Figma. So it is Figma that you use to do UI UX design. I hope I've answered your question, please. Someone is asking that, is there a specific app? Or what am I saying here? Is there, okay, hello, sir, what is the difference between product design and UX design? I spoke about it. I spoke about this when we started. Product design simply means creating products. Do you understand? That people make use of, something people use. But product design has two specific parts. We have the UI part of that product, and we have the UX part of that product. So the UI part of that product, like I explained earlier, is the user interface design of that product. Then the UX is the user experience design part of that product. So when you are saying product design, UI UX design, you are basically talking about the same thing. There is no difference between product design and UI UX design. But for you to be a good and a very proficient UI UX designer, you need to understand product design in details. Because when we talk about product design, as a designer, you might be given the product requirements to go through. When you want to design something and you're asked to go through the requirements of what you have to design, if you are not someone that is proficient in product design, you may have difficulty. You may have difficulty you may have difficulty with, creating something that everyone in the team will actually be comfortable with. So basically there is no difference between product design and UI UX design. But I can actually say UI UX design is a subset of product design. Product design is just like the umbrella. So everything that happens under the umbrella, everything that happens under product design as the umbrella is what we call UI UX. The UI part of the product and the UX part of the product. It is no rocket science. There's no better way to explain it than that. Product design, creating products that people use. That thing you are creating that people use has two parts. There's a UI part of it, the part of it that people see. There's a UX part of it, the part of it that people interact with. And it shapes the experience they have while using it and the kind of feedback you're going to get as a product designer. Thank you. So I hope I've answered you. Someone is asking, do you need to be able to code before you start UI UX? No, you don't have to. You don't have to know how to code before you start UI UX. But Figma are not doing free pages for design now like before. Or is there another app one can use for free now? Of course, yes. I think, I understand what this person is talking about, but then you can still create Figma accounts for a beginner, you understand? There are free pages. They are doing free pages. Not that there are no free pages. They get, but there is a limit to the number of pages you can create. Do you understand? That is it. Not that they don't have free pages. They still have free pages, but there's a limit to the number of pages you can create. That's it. But by the time you become very good as a UI UX designer, you start working in an organization, even if there is a need for you to, if there is a need for you to create more pages. Your organization can cater for that. Please, can you give examples of good UX and bad UX? Well, let's reserve some certain questions to the next class. Do you understand? Because this particular question this person is asking, yes, it's okay as a beginner for you to ask, it's okay as a beginner. Then we are really out of time. Let's reserve these questions for the next class. Is it only pro in designing that can dive into product design, or there's a little knowledge about designing that can dive? No, it's not. You don't really have to be a pro. No, it's not. You don't have to be a pro. Anybody can be a designer in as much you have the mind to do it. That's it. So I think I won't be able to take more questions than this because we are really out of time. So I hope we all enjoy our class, and I look forward to working with us again and to see if there is some magic that we can create together. You understand? I hope to see you guys in the nearest future, performing wonders in the UI UX world, doing great things in the UI UX world. And I'm rooting for you guys. Trust me, with unlimited time and resources, there is nothing the human brain cannot comprehend. You can do it. It is no rocket science. You can do it. Just set your mind into it and you achieve it. There is nothing you can't achieve. Thank you.